Hey man, shout out to Hills Report.
All right, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Pretty good. What country are you in right now?
I'm in Poland right now.
Poland. Okay.
Yeah.
So going on with this, you attended Charles James High School in Durham. What was that? What was your recruiting process like? Who were you all recruited by?
Man, that's some time ago now that we're asking, but I was recruited by almost all the ACC schools. My first college offer was East Carolina going into my sophomore year. Um, and then other schools from the Big Ten like Illinois and uh, then, the conferences were different back then, so I guess I had to be more specific. But, Illinois and Wisconsin and Penn State, teams of that nature in the Big Ten, but, then smaller schools like George Mason as well, a lot of mid-majors, Xavier. So, I mean, it was a ton of schools, man. My recruiting process was kind of hectic because I was the first one in my family to actually go through the recruiting process the way it is now. My dad did play basketball, but back then in the 80s, the recruiting process wasn't nearly as hands-on like it is now, especially when I was coming out. Coaches were allowed to text and call, and assistant coaches were allowed to message you infinite amount of times. As long as it wasn't the head coach, it wasn't breaking rules. So it was a hectic process. It was overwhelming for me at the beginning stages of being 15, 16 years old and all these colleges and telling you what you want to hear to get you to come to the school. So um, it was a great experience, though, but overwhelming first. And then I would say it's a great experience to just be able to experience all the schools, go on visits, and see college campuses, and go around the United States of America and see things you probably never saw if you couldn't dribble the basketball.
Yeah. So when Coach Williams reached out to you, what made Carolina more special than the other schools?
Um, but just growing up in North Carolina, I think you're either a Duke fan or a Carolina fan. Um, Also, Carolina was the first letter I received from any school, so they were the first to recruit me. And growing up, just I've always been a Tar Heel fan. Watched the Tar Heels, know a lot of guys from my area. David Noel being the one before me that played on the '05 national team, he went to Carolina, and Lopez being from Durham. So seeing him and kind of, you see someone who you looked up to growing up, and then you see what they do. You kind of want to follow in their footsteps, not even knowing, what you really want at the time, but this is what success looks like. He's been successful at what he's doing. So maybe let me try to do what he did. So a lot of things played a role in it, but I would just say being a childhood fan of a team and you get a chance to play for them is something that a lot of people don't get a chance to experience, and they would do it if they had the chance.
Yeah, I interviewed David about a month ago, and he's a really cool dude.
Dave's my guy, man. He's actually the head coach now at Southern, the school he went to. So
Yeah.
that's man.
So let's talk about your pro career. You started playing pro ball in 2013. You are now in the Polish Basketball League. I don't know. I can't pronounce your team name. How do you say it?
Stretching.
Stretching? Okay.
That's the city we're in, but Stretching Kings is the name of the team. It's in a city, obviously named Stretching, but for people who don't travel as much, it's right beside Berlin. Actually, it's like an hour and 30 minutes away from Berlin, Germany. So it's basically on the border between Germany and Poland.
Okay. What is the whole overseas basketball like? What is that whole experience like?
It's a different experience, especially for the first year guys, or when it's your first year over here. It's a total different style of basketball, along with the culture off the court and sometimes even on the court. You have to learn how to adjust, different play style. Um, it could be a culture shock when you first come over here. I would say the best thing to do is just take it day by day and understand that it's going to be different no matter what you've done in college or somewhere else. Each season is different. If you change teams or change countries, each country is different. Each coach in a different country has a different play style. So, it's just an eye-opening experience. That's how I would explain it. It's very eye-opening. It makes you grow. Makes you mature very fast. It's good, and it's good for growth. I would say playing overseas is good for growth personally.
Yeah, like you said, you're on a different team most every year. Is that hard to move to country so much?
Um, when I first started, I had no intentions of playing on the same team every year. I wanted to see the world. Since I was playing overseas, I kind of made it a thing to change teams every year because I wanted to see different parts of the world that I've never seen before and try to have an open mind. Now that I'm in the later part of my career, well, not later, but I'd say middle part. I'm kind of, looking for that situation to where maybe I can sign a 1+1 year deal or 2+1 year deal to stay in a country that I know and get familiar with and build a brand. So I would say for me personally, when I first started, it was a thrill for me to be changing teams every year because with each team I'm changing, I'm seeing a different part of the world that I probably would never think to visit. And now it's more like, okay, let me settle down and find a niche somewhere and get in a good country to where maybe I can develop a brand over here as well.
And like you said, international basketball is a lot different than U.S. basketball. How is it different?
Um, for one, it's a lot more physical. I would say European basketball is a lot more physical, especially when you play at the higher levels of European basketball, like Champions League, Euro Cup, Euro League. And then I would say it's more of a strategic game for them over here. Players are athletic over here, but not like in America where 1 through 12 are athletic. It's kind of like, you might have 1 through 6 who are athletic, and then you have a lot of guys who can beat you mentally rather than physically. It's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of plays, a lot of, different actions that you don't see in American-style basketball with elevator doors, Spanish screens, and certain ways you play help defense. It's kind of different from what you're used to in college of how to play defense and rotation. So very small, minor details, probably foreign language to people who have never played the game of basketball. I was talking to them, but a person who has been in a program at a university would pick up on it right away and know the differences.
And like you said, the languages are different. Is that hard, like going to a new country and let's say the language it's a new language every year? How do you adapt to that?
It's not hard to adapt on the court per se. It's more off the court because most of the guys on the court have went to schools in the U.S. of A. or did different universities where they know English. So most of the time we speak English on the court. Off the court is when you're kind of finding that survival mode. Or that survival language. So you learn how to just order food, directions, the bare minimum to survive to where you can get around by yourself if you need to, or if you don't want someone, telling you the wrong thing or talking about you and you want to know a little bit what's going on. That's the only thing you struggle with. But other than that, it's not that big of a deal on the court.
Okay. Is it hard being gone from home, the United States, for so long? Like, when do you usually get to go home each year?
Well, it all depends on your schedule. Most of the time, I've been able to go home New Year's, Christmas time. And then February is always a FIBA break for the teams, national team players. They have to play with their countries to qualify for the Olympics. So you get a two week break in there and you can go home. But it depends on your contract as well. I know some guys don't have airplane tickets in their contract for people to visit them or for them to go back home. So that could be costly if it's your first or second year. But for me, I've been blessed enough to be in situations good enough to where I can go home every New Year's. And most of the time during the FIBA break, I'm allowed to go home, or someone's allowed to come out here to visit me if we're not playing in any games. But it all depends on your schedule.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's talk UNC basketball. You were a freshman on the 09 team that won the national championship. What was that whole March Madness experience like that year?
Oh man, it was a fun roller coaster, man. I mean, we we didn't have many downs that year, so I don't know if it was really a roller coaster. It was probably just a fun ride. But me being a freshman, just jumping right into a team like that with a group of guys like that who had went the year before to the Final Four and was kind of on a redemption phase and had a business mindset. It was just a joy to be around those guys, man. Memories I'll never forget. It's just words can't explain. There was so much going on. It's like a rock star life, man. I mean, everywhere we went, we were the main attraction. Guys were great teammates. Everybody was handling, the pressure well, and it helped me mature a lot faster than I think. If I would have went to another school and maybe wasn't in such a limelight situation and having to catch up very quickly and get things right on the first or second try because those guys were on a mission to do something and accomplish something, and they did a great job in putting their name in the books. So that was a great experience, man. Words can't explain the experience it was, man. It was a fun ride, though. Amazing ride, I guess, is a better way to say it.
You had teammates like Tyler Hansborough, Ty Lawson, Wayne Ellington, and Danny Green. What did they all teach you?
The first thing I learned when I got there with those guys, I learned that you can't take a day off. So maybe a work ethic, especially guys like Tyler, who just didn't have an off button. He would come to practice before, stay after, and even on the days that he was tired and stuff, he's pushing through. He's showing by example how things should be done. I think that has helped me as a professional, just handling things in a professional way. And knowing that it's not what you do on the days you feel good, but it's what you accomplish on the days you feel bad. So that's probably the biggest thing I learned from that group of guys who were in there before me.
You scored the final 2 points in the championship game. What was that moment like to be on the court when the buzzer sounds and you guys realize that you accomplished your dream and were national champions?
Man, that was a Jeopardy question. Somebody maybe a couple years ago had said, "Hey, man, you won me Jeopardy or something," and I was like, "Oh, really?" I didn't realize it at the time. I was more just caught up in the moment of being a national champion. The confetti's coming down. It's like a movie. It's really like a movie. You're in a movie, and you're sitting there, and it doesn't hit you until maybe a week or two later. Even when you see the one shining moment, you're still, caught up in the moment up there with your teammates and your coaches and your family's in the stands. So you're looking for them and they're pointing back at you. And it's a surreal moment, man. I guess after I look back at it, it is pretty cool to score the last points of a national championship game because a lot of good players have not even played in a national championship game to score in it. So, I guess that's awesome, man, the fact that I scored the last 2 points of a national championship game. But at the time, I was just so thrilled to be a part of something that can't be erased. And we were a great team that year, broke a lot of records in the tournament. And to see those guys that worked hard for it after losing first year and being able to do my small role in helping them win it the next year is just amazing, man.
And then some of my followers were curious about this. You guys won the championship in 09, but then you guys lost a lot of talent the next year. You guys didn't make the tournaments, and you made all the NIT championship. What is that experience like? What did you guys learn from it? Like going from all-time high and then like not making the tournaments. What was that whole like?
It was definitely an eye-opening, to let us know that you do have to come to play every night. Although it wasn't as deflating as it probably sounds because we dealt with a lot of injuries that year. I know my roommate Ed Davis was a big part of that team. He went down and broke his wrist, and Zeller got hurt for a little bit. I was hurt. Drew was hurt. And just basically we were banged up all year. And we were super young. And once we, hit a few losses and people are like, oh, Carolina's lost 2 games already this season, we were kind of feeding into what wasn't in our circle. So I guess other than coming to play every night, it taught us to, trust ourselves, trust our circle, trust the work we're putting in within our circle, which is our coaches and our staff and us as teams and players and teammates. And that helped us the later years being better leaders for the young guys coming in. And we were able to, learn from all our mistakes.
And even when you guys are in the NIT, like, you guys make all of that championship, is there still motivation there, like, the whole season? Because you guys still have the North Carolina on the front of your jersey. I know a lot of teams, if they get in that point, they would just say the season's over, we failed. Like, how does Coach Williams motivate you guys even through those times?
Well, we're given a chance to play a sport that a lot of people would love to play. So you're never tired of playing. If you love it, you might be banged up, you might be hurt. And of course you get mentally and physically drained at points during the season. But we were given an opportunity to continue to play. And I mean, we're on national TV still, and we're not just going to go out there and just say, this is just for the blank tournament, or this is just for, this tournament. So he really didn't have to motivate us to play. We were playing for ourselves, and it just so happened, we have the North Carolina on the front of our jersey and our names on the back of it. But he's never really had to motivate us to play. He's a great motivator in himself, but we're always ready to play, whether, we play good or not. We're always ready to go out there and play a game that we love.
And then in the 2012 team, you guys had an exceptional team, making it all the way to the Elite Eight. Do you believe you guys would have had the chance to win the national championship if Kendall would have not gone down?
A lot of people, mention that. But it's so many moving pieces in the NCAA tournament. I even tell people for 2009, that winning the national championship takes a lot of skill, but it also takes a lot of luck. Mm-hmm. So it's all about matchups. I feel like we, would have had a great chance to win it if Kendall didn't go down. But at the same time, the year before, we basically had the same team, and we lost to a Kentucky team that we had beat twice that year before. So you never know what can happen. You can have an off night. A team can have a career night versus you. Injuries are a part of the game, so you have to account for them, even though you don't want to at times. But if he stays healthy, along with John not hurting for this and not being 100%, although he was playing through a lot of pain, Harrison was banged up late as well. I think I put us up there to compete with the best or anyone who would have been in that national championship game, and we could have got there.
That team sounds a lot like this year's team. With, like you said, team has to there's a lot of luck, and it seemed like Auburn made their 17 threes this year, and they couldn't really shoot the rest of the tournaments. It just kind of sounds like this year's team a lot.
Yeah, it's all about it's all about luck, man. It's teams in 2009 that I felt like if we would have played, we would have not beat them by 20 like we were doing everybody else. But they end up playing a team that matched up with them well before we played them. And, we got a better end of the stick. So it's not always about the best team, but it's the best team at that time because, it's only one game. It's not a best of 7 series like the NBA. You have to be the best team on that night or on that day. And that's tough to do, be the best team on the one day that you play another team every time. So.
And then going into the tournament, like round of 32, Sweet 16, you guys usually have 1 day to prepare for a team. How do you guys do that in such fast notice?
Well, Coach Williams isn't the only one that does scouting for us. Coach Rob, and when I was there, C.B. McGrath and Gerard Harris, even Coach Holliday would help with the scouting, because we also have to prepare for Elite Eight. We're always optimistic. We always think we're going to win, underdog or not. So we just have to, run through things. We're running through things on the plane. We're running through things in the hotel. We're walking through things in the ballroom. So it's just constant moving pieces of trying to just develop every advantage we can, small tactics, to where it's simple, to where we're not blowing every assignment when we go out there.
Yeah. And then I know I've seen a lot of articles on this, but is there any hard feelings like for you toward Creighton because they had like a so-called dirty play on Kendall?
I don't have any hard feelings towards those guys. At the time, you're caught up in the moment and you see a guy make a play that you don't think is a basketball play. But at the same time, I don't know what he was thinking, exactly. I don't know if he, meant to be, malicious with his movement of pushing Kendall down. He could have been going for the ball. He could have just been competing very hard. And I actually played against Grant over here in Germany, so I don't have any hard feelings towards the man. If he meant to do it on purpose, that's something he has to deal with. If he didn't mean to do it on purpose, then he didn't mean to do it on purpose. But I have no hard feelings versus Creighton. We still beat them. They still went home, and I don't think they've been back deep in the tournament since then, so it's all right.
Yeah. And then moving on with that, you had Coach Williams, is a great coach to you. What did he mean to you in your career?
He taught me a lot. He taught me patience, determination, resilience, all those things that basically what he is. He's a fighter. He's very competitive. But if anything, he taught me to pay attention to detail, and that's on and off the court. Just being around him, there's very small details that he emphasizes, and the small details is what separates you, whether it's setting a back screen on a play to make a play work, or being off the court and listening to a small detail so you're not late to class, or you're answering a question right on a test, interviews for jobs. I mean, anything. It rolls over everywhere and everything you do. Just paying attention to small details is probably something that he was big on that I have taken away from him.
Yeah. A few more questions. You played in the Duke-Carolina rivalry for a long time. What is that whole experience like with going both to Cameron and then playing in the Dean Dome?
Well, the Cameron, man, it's just nuts over there because it seems like they just have no regard for your personal space in Cameron. So it's like you go to Cameron, it's a smaller gym, and I mean you can literally feel them when they're doing the little Cameron crazy finger thing they do whenever, and you're coming out of the locker room and you actually have to walk through them to get to the court. It's a great experience though. That makes it fun. Far as being at the Dean Smith Center when we play them, it's more of a bigger arena, and it's more of a campus thing. The day leading up to the game is a lot of fun. You're walking through campus, you're walking through the quad, and you got Dunkadookie, and everything is just to kind of bash Duke, which makes it fun as well because you're always the center of attention when walk through the library or the student union or people are throwing pies at people who have Duke shirts on. It's just all in fun. It's the rivalry is so amazing, worldwide, but just to have it on your own campus and experience it, and then when you become victorious and come back and people are on Franklin Street, it's a ball, man. It's a ball.
What do you remember most from being an athlete but also a student at UNC?
What do I remember most? Well, as a student, man, we still talk about it to this day, and it's the first thing we warn the freshmen when they come in and we're back is the bricks on Carolina's campus, man. The bricks on Carolina's campus just seem to know when you're tired, and it's they jump up out of the ground and trip you. I've tripped on so many bricks on Carolina's campus to where I used to stomp my toe and have bruises on the front of my toes because we wear a lot of flip-flops.
Yeah.
So that would probably walking to class and tripping over a brick is probably the most painful thing that I remember. Carolina's campus as far as being a student, because I would literally, when I finally get to class, I would look at my toes, and they would have bruises on the front of them. As far as an athlete, I mean, I would say winning the ACC championship my last game, senior night, and we ended up beating Duke. So it was beating Duke and being an ACC champion and being my senior night, so it was pretty awesome. That's probably one of the things, tied with the national championship, but the senior year I had, a bigger impact, and that was kind of me and Zeller's team, so it was a lot more fun to actually have a bigger role in something that we accomplished.
Yeah. Do you still keep in touch with any of your former teammates?
Yeah, we're close. We actually have a group chat with all of us in it. Even the guys from the 90s with, Stackhouse to Sheed to Vince to Jameson, and even some guys before them. So we keep in contact. All of us are kind of spread out across the world now. We always get a chance to come back to coaches camp in June and play a little pickup and reminisce on good times. But yeah, we stay in touch, man. We're, as we would say, a big family. We try to, check on each other here and there, although a lot of people have their own life now. We understand that, and they're very busy.
And then final question, how do you want Carolina fans to remember you?
I don't know. I felt like I was just the laid back / funny guy. Mm-hmm. From the outside looking in, I'm very laid back, but perceived with my teammates as kind of like the funny guy. I dance a lot when I was there. Just an easygoing guy, man. I try to represent the university as well as I can, keeping my nose clean, staying out of trouble. Someone who gave 100% effort every time they got on the court, and just a great teammate. Something simple, man, nothing extravagant.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know it's late there, so I appreciate you taking the time and doing this.
No problem, man. I'm glad we could get on the same
time zone.
Not time zone, but same page, I guess, is a good way.
Yeah, that took a while to get it going, but I'm glad we did it.
Yeah. Well, I thought I don't know. I knew you were at the Final Four, but then I didn't know if you were at the Final Four.
Yeah.
As far as saying you're there in the time zone. So I was like, well, maybe he's 6 hours ahead of me. And then when you didn't call, I was like, well, maybe he meant. I don't know. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I'll just let it be. And then when you called me, I wasn't around any Wi-Fi. And then that's when it kind of hit me 7 hours. So that's pretty dope, though, man, that we finally got it done.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing it, man.
No problem, man. Thanks for reaching out. Keep that page going as well, man. It's good stuff.
All right. Take care. I appreciate it.
No problem, man.
Thank you.